Hi guys, welcome to Learning Electronics Repair. I'm making a video today about desoldering tools. There was some discussion on various previous videos I made about this, so what I've done is I've looked through your comments and I've gone and bought myself out of my own pocket various equipment that you recommended and some that I found myself, and let's see how these things work, okay? So how are we going to test these various methods and pieces of equipment? Well, I have a couple of scrap or unneeded motherboards that are not worth anything. This is one of them. This one is actually a scrap one. It's PCIe, so it doesn't have any value, and it has a lot of bad capacitors on. So we're going to unsolder capacitors from motherboards, and then we're going to clean the holes, because cleaning the holes is the difficult part, okay? Let's look at the various methods we're going to use. Well, the first one we're going to try is this. So these are desoldering needles. They come in various sizes. A set of these is only $1 or $2, no more than that, from AliExpress. That's where they came from. So we'll try desoldering needles, see how good they are at doing this. I have some alternate desoldering needles, again from AliExpress, so we can try these ones. That one's bent already, but we'll try these. I think one of these blue ones may do. It's a small one. These are hollow desoldering needles, whereas the other ones are solid. Then we're going to try one of these vacuum desoldering pumps, manual ones. I really don't like these things. I've mentioned on videos before, but of course not everybody agrees, and that's fair enough. We have different experience with things. My comment on these basically is they're very good at knocking pads off boards, but not so good at removing the solder from the holes. This one's quite solid. Yeah. AliExpress, about $1 just over. Out of my own good hard-earned money, I will point out again. We have this. Let's get it out of the bag. You can see it. This was also quite inexpensive. So obviously this is a soldering iron effectively with a nozzle in the end of it, but it has the manual pump on. So if you like, that's a manual pump, but you keep the heat onto the pad, and in theory that removes the solder. This also wasn't very expensive. I'll just check and tell you. Well, in fact, we have two more things to try. So we have this one. This is electric again, with a pump inside it this time. So as I understand it from the description, you hold the button in to suck the solder off the board, and then you point it into like a receptacle and let the button go, and it sprays it back out again. That's how the instructions read in Chinglish. This one was a bit more expensive. So here it is. You can see it. Comes with 3 tips, so I have a variety of tips with it, different sizes or just spare ones. And you can see this one cost me a little bit shy of €30, so €27.16 with free shipping. So those are the devices I actually bought specifically to make this video and to keep you guys entertained. And the last one you've seen many times. This is my favourite tool for desoldering, having used some of these methods before, but not that €27 one, I will say. So this is a copy of the Pros Kit SS331H. I'm on the second handle, having broken the first one, but it was me who broke that, so I don't think that's a fault of the equipment. Here is the SS331. You'll see various prices. Some not including the shipping, some including the shipping. So you can get an idea. These are selling for about €126, €130. I actually paid about 70 or 80 for mine, but I bought this in 2018. So it seems the price has gone up somewhat since then. You'll also note that you can buy a full range of spare parts for this, which is how I got hold of the replacement handle. You can see what it cost me. That's because I broke mine. I didn't actually need to do that. I actually needed this part, but for the difference in price, another €16 or so, I decided to buy a complete second gun, and then at some point I'll actually buy the element for the first one. I'll have two working ones. So that's what we're going to do today. This is what we're going to use today. Let's get started. First, let's use braid. So I'll just remove a few of these capacitors, and then we'll see if we can clean the holes. Actually, unsoldering the capacitors is the easy bit. We just add a bit of fresh solder. We grab hold of the capacitor, we warm one end and pull the capacitor in the opposite direction. I'll try and show you. So if I warm up this leg, I push the capacitor away from me, I go to the opposite leg and it fell out, okay? We'll do another one, you see it there. So add a bit of fresh solder. Get hold of the capacitor or just get a finger against it, warm one end, push the capacitor this way, and wait till this cools down, otherwise it'll just go back in again. Warm that end, push it away from me, warm again, and it falls out. So that's how we actually desolder the capacitors. Let's do one more and then we'll try and clean the holes. So once more, unsolder this end first. There was something in the way. Now it's fell out. Yeah, it was the plastic frame that was in the way. So I have some capacitors desoldered. The first method we'll try to do is using braid. And I'll just mention, I should have made this clear to start with, don't try to clean the thing with braid before you extract the capacitor. Take it out first. You'll never get the holes cleaned or the thing desoldered while it's still in the board, okay? So this is the braid I use, Chemtronics. Not any old braid will work. This is without doubt the best. And I know a lot of people actually agree with me on that, or it's the best I've used. We can use this with or without flux. I'll give it a bit of flux, it does help. So we've added some flux on there. Now the problem I was having with braid was that I couldn't get it to unsolder, and it was a subscriber who actually put me onto the correct technique. So I was just warming the thing with braid and it hasn't unsoldered. You can see it's cleaned the solder off, but it hasn't unsoldered it, okay? There's two holes there. Obviously this board is designed to take two different physical sizes of capacitor. The way that a subscriber told me was to put the braid on and hold it on for longer, okay? And that usually, or at least sometimes, will clean the hole. Now in this one it's not doing, okay? We can try adding some fresh solder again. Now we've removed the original solder, we've removed a lot of the unleaded, so this is pretty much all leaded solder. I'm not going to use low melt solder to demonstrate on this video, by the way. There are other techniques. I'm not going to try heating it up and banging the board against the desk. Yes, it sometimes works. So there are other methods, I'm just not using them today. And we can see that the braid is not working. Okay. You can try using the braid from the other side of the board as well. So you can see we've removed quite a lot of solder here. We can flick it over. In fact, do we have one hole free? Let me have a look. No, I should have used the technique. I'll put a torch under it next time so you guys can see, but it's not clean. Let's try from this side. We'll add a bit more flux as well. Okay. Doesn't even want to go into that one. Let's try and desolder it. Push on, hold. It's removing solder, but it's not cleaning the hole. Yeah. Okay, so braid alone will not desolder those holes. But we may be able to get braid to work. I'll go back to this side again. I'll put some more solder on again. Now what I'm going to do now is to heat this area of the board with the hot air. I'm not going to try and melt the solder, I just want to warm the area up. So, hot air. Warm the general area. Okay. Now let's try the braid. And that's got it. But not the other one. Okay. So we can see braid wasn't particularly successful. I'm sure you can see, yeah, that one is clear. If you can do it at all with braid will depend on the board. Some motherboards are easier than others. Some capacitors are easier than others, but that is a very time-consuming way of doing it anyway. And the more times you're heating the pads, the more likely you are to actually knock some off the board. So I think we'll call that basically a failure on this instance. Let's try using needles. These are the solid needles. I'm going to try one of the narrower ones. You basically need to select one that will actually go through the board, the hole. You can see that one actually doesn't go through. Can you see, in fact, although I've cleaned the hole, it's not cleaned all the way through. It's partially cleaned. I'm sure you can see that actually now I tilt it. Still, I think this is the thinnest one, so let's try this. To do this, we're going to add solder again. Okay. We get our needle. And we try to push it through the board, basically. Heat up the solder. And that is proving difficult. Either the needle is too big or it's just being difficult. Let me see if I can clean the hole again with the braid, and we can try again, see if the needle will go through. Okay, it seems to fit into the hole okay. Let's try to heat it up. And you can see, it doesn't want to go, not easily. We can use a slightly different technique with the needle, and that is to use hot air plus the needle. Okay, it's through, yeah? it's through. So the needle is working. It's just a matter of getting enough heat in to make it do the job. Jammed that time. There we go. So the needle with the hot air, I think we can call that a success. And that's cheap basic equipment. As long as you've got a hot air gun, some of these, you can definitely do the job. While we're here, let's try the other type of needle. These are the hollow needles. I think I can probably show you. It's hollow. This is the smallest one I have. Or maybe this one. Let me have a look. Yeah, the blue one is the smallest one. Let's see if we can do it. So we'll go to the third capacitor we removed, which is here. Can we do it with a soldering iron? I think we probably can't. Well, actually, before I even try that, will the needle fit through the hole? No. So the smallest one well, maybe, just about, yeah. But it looks like the smallest one I have is probably too big. We can try. Again, not much luck with the soldering iron. How about the hot air? Yes. So both types of needle did the job. I suspect probably the solid needles were slightly easier, but they both do it. The next thing to try then is going to be the basic €1.50 solder sucker, the manual one. Now to do this, I need to remove a few more capacitors first. Okay, let's give it a try. Let's see if my self-professed hate for these things is unjustified. Okay. We're primed, ready to go. So, heat up the solder. Get it molten. Whoa! Well, the solder went. And came out quite nicely. Try another one. Didn't get that one, but that could be technique. Okay. Bear in mind that this area of this board is still quite warm, by the way. Nope. Nope. Was that beginner's luck the first time? Possibly just technique. Go for these other ones, see. You know what, guys? Maybe you lot are right and I'm wrong about this thing. But that is doing a pretty good job of it. And this is like €1.50 or something. I'm not sure how long these things last. Maybe, as I found in the past, the rubber ring inside them goes that makes the seal on the suction, but I suppose they're cheap enough to be almost disposable, really, after, you know, a few jobs. So yeah, that one surprised me. Maybe didn't surprise a lot of you guys. That worked. Just to prove the point, We can go under the board there. You can see nice and clean. Okay. That's 1-0 to various subscribers, I think. Let's try the next tool. A bystander named Det, who's hiding around the corner, just pointed out something, and I have done this before, so we'll just go back to the braid. He's questioning the technique, which is perfectly valid to question. So what he suggested is something I've actually shown before anyway, and that is adding flux to the braid. So we have one desoldered here. We have our piece of braid. This board is not warm now. We're going to add flux to the braid as well. Okay. And then we're going to try and desolder it. Okay, let's go. So hold it on for a while. Well, it didn't suck the solder all the way through. It cleaned solder off. Try this one. That one it did get. Okay, so without doubt adding flux to the braid is helping. Try again on these. No, these ones it doesn't want to get. Let's warm it up and try once again. So we'll warm this area. We'll put a bit of fresh solder on there. We will add flux to the braid. So, and we'll try again. No. Okay, so still no with the braid. This is the next gadget then. So this was about €5. It's a kind of a combination between that and a soldering iron. Let's see how good this is. Or let's see how bad it is. Well, it's switched on. Now we wait a little while. Let's see if this is hot enough to melt solder now. Yes, it is. So we're ready to go. I'll push the plunger in, so we've primed it. Let's have a look. We're on the same power plane as we were before, so this is a good comparison. Now this appears hard to melt with this, like there's a big power or ground plane here. And that did not desolder, okay? Let's try adding some fresh solder to it. Okay, and we'll try again. I'll see if I can just show you the way this is actually trying to melt the solder, but not really. Can you see that? It's kind of like struggling to melt that. I think we can get a good angle on it. So this soldering, or rather desoldering iron, does not appear to have enough power to melt the solder. Not on a heavy plane like that. Let's see if we can help it a bit with some hot air, as we did with other methods. So I'll warm the area up. Okay, let's see if this will do it. Yeah. So, yeah, this one works. As to whether it's any better than using my soldering iron plus this one, or the hot air plus this one, I'm not sure, but it certainly works, so we can't say it didn't work. It was about €5 something, it was cheap. Again, how long lasting this will be, I don't know. One thing I don't like about it is this cord. It's not heat resistant like a normal soldering iron cord, so I think it's a little bit possibly dangerous, but that's as it is. Let's have a look at the next most expensive one. This next one cost me, I think it was €27-28. This one then has a similar cord to the other one. Since I mentioned it, it's not a proper soldering iron cord, but at least it's a lot further away from the heating end of it than the other one was. This has a button we can see here, so we operate the button. It's easiest to operate it with your little finger, or maybe the next one. Just the position of it, I think it would be better here, but that's where it is. Okay. This is the nozzle that is fitted. These just screw in or unscrew. There also appears to be a locking screw there, but I'll leave it as it came. We have 3 spare nozzles, which are different sizes, you can see. But I'll leave this one on that it came with. It has a cleaning tool. Yeah, inserts just fine. And it comes with a user manual that is so much fun, and we have to show you. So, instructions. Plug the power cord into a power source. Allow the nozzle to warm up for approximately 5 minutes. That's a long time. I think it's fairly low wattage as well. Place the tip of the nozzle against the solder you wish to remove. When the solder, which is not the same thing as a solder obviously, when the solder melts, press the button on the handle and the solder, spelt again, definitely, will be absorbed. Then, press the on the hardle remove solder hose. When unclenched switch, the tin automatic outburst. Okay, so I think it's basically saying that you heat it up, you stick this end on where the solder is, you press the button and hold it, I think, and it will suck the solder in. You then point this somewhere else, let go, and the solder will spurt back out again. Let's see if that is how it actually works. Okay, let's see if it will melt solder. Yes. So it's hot enough. Right. I'm going to try to unsolder this one, and I'm just going to spray out over here because it's a scrap board, if that's how it does do it. Let's have a look. So we put this over the leg. So let's go for this one first, because this side seems to be the easiest to desolder. It's melted the solder. Oh! It jumps. It jumps at your hand. Oh, okay. I didn't realise it would do that. Let's go again. So hold it down. Well, it's unsoldered it. I'm not sure where the solder went. It didn't come out. I thought you'd have a pump in it rather than what it has. Let's go for this one. Count to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, it's struggling on that pad. This pad obviously has a lot of ground plane on it. Okay, put some fresh solder in. Let's go again. Ah, now you see it sprays it out. So that's what it does do. So we'll get some fresh solder in there. Okay. Let's see. So hold it on. Give it a few seconds. Press the button and it blows it out. But it doesn't unsolder. Same thing probably applies again. We want some hot air to assist it. Then let's see if it will work. So fresh solder again. Hot air. Okay, warm the area up. Press the button, let go. And that desoldered perfectly again. And now the SS331 clone. This is by far the more expensive of all the devices, but let's see how well it works. Okay, so again, just without hot air, let's try one of these. Put it on, count to about 5 or 10, and it cleaned the hole. Okay, let's go for the other one as well. I didn't get that one. And it cleaned them both. Let's go for the other one. This is the one that's been struggling with all the other equipment. There seems to be a heavy power or ground plane here. Okay, let's see what it does. And it did it no problem. We have a couple more capacitors up here we can play with. Okay. This is the heavier plane apparently. And that time it didn't get it, alright. Let's add a bit of fresh solder. Okay. A few seconds. And now it got it. Do one more. Both together that time. On this one, give it a few seconds again. Well, we found a more tricky one, so it just goes to show this won't always do it, although it's definitely doing it better than the other two. Let's try it with hot air. Warm the area up a little bit. Clean. The trick with this tool, the same as all the other ones, is when you finish using it, first pull some air through and then put the cleaning stick through. It's clean. If you do that before you switch it off every time, it's very unlikely to let you down. And the same goes with all the other tools, to be quite honest, guys. And there we have it, guys. So, Braid wasn't really up to the job, even with hot air. It was not particularly brilliant. Needles both worked, okay, but only when I applied hot air as well as the needle at the same time. The solid needles appeared to be somewhat better than the hollow needles, but it definitely worked, and it's very inexpensive, and it's not going to clog up, for example, is another thing, or wear out easily. This one actually surprised me. It worked far better than I expected. I'm not sure about the longevity of these, but as I say, about €1.50 each, buy 10 of them. When they wear out, throw them away. I had these things back in the 1970s and 80s. I tried putting a bit of oil or grease on the rubber ring when it wears out, but it was never very successful. But that definitely surprised me. I will not be dissing these things again. Okay, guys? This one I thought was cheap and nasty, to be quite honest. It doesn't have anything like the action that this one has. Okay, this, in my opinion, didn't work as well as this one and my soldering iron did. That's because my soldering iron is a 75 watt and this is something like a 30 watt. But with the hot air, it did the job fine, to be quite honest, so I can't diss it that much. I wouldn't probably use it myself personally. I think it's a bit of a nasty thing, but it works, so really, can I say more than that? Okay. This, interesting, this worked. Again, it had the same problem with this, not enough wattage. With the hot air, it worked fine. This expels the removed solder, so you think it wouldn't clog up as much. It's obviously made to dismantle, so you can take it apart and clean it. What I don't like about this is the recoil when you hit the button. It's quite strong. It really took me by surprise the first time because I thought it'd be like a pump, which I guess it is, but I didn't expect it to be quite as mechanical as that. Okay, I think that recoil would easily damage some circuit boards, but again, it worked. Okay, with the hot air, it worked and did the job fine. This, guys, you know it's my favourite, but he didn't do it every time. And again, for a couple of the holes, I had to use hot air with it. This plus hot air works just fantastically. There's no recoil like there is with any of these other devices, and I still stand by the fact that this is the best device for desoldering holes. But I also accept that this is 4 times the price of that one, at least. Okay, so it's a case of, if you can afford it, buy it. I don't think you'll ever regret buying one of these. But if you can't afford it, there are definitely other options that work, including some pretty damn cheap ones, yeah? So that's my sum up on that. I actually believe, and I think I've proved, the 2 things that work best were that one and that one. Okay. Comments below, guys. I know there'll be a lot to say about this, but I hope you enjoyed watching it, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all again soon on another Learn Electronics Repair video. Ciao for now, guys.